Welcome to Becoming David, Episode 1 The Boy Who Lost His Voice. Before I became a man trying to heal, before the addictions, before the marriage, before the failures and rebuilding, there was a boy, a small boy, 10 years old, hungry enough to say yes to something he didn't quite understand. Today, I want to tell you about him. Because this moment right here is where becoming David really started, even though I didn't know it at that time. I've never fully talked about this publicly, maybe once or twice. Not in church, not with friends, not even with myself, if I'm being honest, because I felt ashamed. I was 10 years old and hungry. Not metaphorically, like literally hungry. And there was a boy or an older boy, someone older, someone trusted, like a neighbor. He told me to come inside. He promised food, a plate of rice, and in exchange, he took something from me that I can never get back. I didn't have the language for molestation. I didn't have the vocabulary for trauma. All I knew was that a part of me shut down quietly and never came back. I walked out of that room with rice in my hand and shame on my soul. And I never told anyone. Because how do you explain to your mother that your innocence was bought and sold like a cheap item in the market? How do you tell God that the boy who was supposed to be his son now feels dirty? So I buried it. And like all buried things, it grew roots. Fast forward, years passed, I grew taller, older, louder, but deep inside, I was still that boy in the room, confused and quiet. People say childhood trauma stays with you, and it sounds like cliche, but it's true. I became the man who couldn't trust affection, who didn't know how to ask for help, who struggled to express himself and felt awkward when a lady talks to him or even try to hug him. I felt really awkward. I felt uneasy around girls. I became a man who learned to perform strength because weakness felt fatal. I prayed hard. I served in church. I tried to drown myself in tongues, in fasting, in scripture, hoping the wound would dissolve. But pain doesn't leave because you ignore it. Shame doesn't leave because you hide it. Silence doesn't heal because you pretend. The boy inside me was still crying, and I couldn't hear him because I refused to listen. I didn't understand until much later that moment, the plate of rice, the silence, was the foundation of the man I became. It affected my relationships. It shaped my addictions. It colored how I saw myself. It made me chase validation in unhealthy places. It made me run from love and run toward pain. Because pain was familiar. Pain felt like home. When I got older, the trauma didn't look like trauma anymore. It looked like bad decisions. It looked like anger issues. It looked like broken trust. It looked like self-sabotage. It looked like David, the strong guy, the smart guy, the capable guy, slowly crumbling in private. And the worst part, I didn't know why. Because when you bury a wound that deep, you forget where the bleeding started. One day, years later, I was lying on my bed looking at the ceiling, asking myself a simple question. Why do I feel so broken, even when nothing is happening? And then God did something crazy. He didn't give me a Bible verse. He didn't send a prophet. He didn't whisper comfort. He gave me a memory. He took me back to that room, back to the moment I lost my voice, back to the boy I abandoned. And he said, you can't become who you are meant to be until you go back for the boy you left behind. That was the beginning of healing. Not the end, just the beginning. Because becoming David, the real David, meant confronting the pain I had avoided my whole life. I'm sharing this not because I enjoy talking about it. God knows I don't. But someone listening right now has their own room, their own plate of rice, their own moment when innocence was stolen, where the world shifted, where a part of you went quiet and never came back. And if no one has ever told you this before, let me be the first. It wasn't your fault. You're not dirty. You're not broken beyond repair. And the child in you deserves healing, not silence. This podcast is not about perfection. It's about becoming. Slowly, honestly, painfully, beautifully. This is episode 1, the beginning, my beginning. Next time, we'll talk about how that wounded boy became a wounded man, the addictions, the gambling, the financial chaos, the failed marriage, and how hitting rock bottom became the doorway to grace. If today's episode touched you or reminded you of your own story, I want you to know you're not alone. New episodes drop every week. I'm imperfect. I'm healing. I'm growing. I'm learning. I'm just becoming David. Thank you for listening to the Becoming David podcast. New episodes drop every week, so please subscribe, share, and join me on this journey of being flawed, faithful, healing out loud, and still becoming. I'll see you on the next episode.